Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools channel. Okay, glad you guys can make it, whether it's in the replay, whether it's right now. And I'm sure you're wondering what this topic is going to be about today. The topic is it's a setup, and that can go in many different directions. So let's get into it. This is going to be more of a free form type of live here. Maybe a little bit all over the place, but just try to touch on some important things here, guys. It's a setup. All right, what do I mean when I say it's a setup? Well, guys, everything's a setup. If you look around your space, your world, you set this up, right? And this is not a pointing fingers, blame, conspiracy type of live tonight. But what I'm really trying to say with that title is that everything's a setup, right? You are responsible for, I would say, 100% of the results that are in your life right now. And so if you find yourself in a situation that you don't like, guess what? You had a lot to do with that, right? Whether you know it or not, you had a lot to do with that. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world today, right? Especially in this country. And, you got to decide what side of the fence that you're on with this, okay? Because I personally think that it's heading for a more intense type of environment based on what we see now. This is just the tip of the spear, so to speak, right? And so I think it's important that you think about where you are now and where you want to be, because you don't live on an island. You will be affected, just like a lot of people's lives are getting affected right now by decisions that they had no control over. But if they, if you were paying attention, this stuff was getting ready to happen anyway. You know what I mean? And, unfortunately, like a lot of people's lives are being affected. The ice rage, for example. But if you look around the world, a lot of stuff's happening, right? I mean, shoot, you got countries dropping bombs on each other. It's just crazy. And it's funny, they point the finger at the people on the lowest level of the ladder and say that they're the ones that are violent and so forth, but yet you're dropping bombs on each other like it's nothing. And but anyway, guys, this is more about you. What are you going to do to protect yourself here? In my opinion, nobody's really safe and secure in this type of environment. So you have to decide where do you stand on things, and what are you setting yourself up for, right? That you may not even be conscious of. And that could be anything from making money, making an income, which is probably the most important thing to survive in this environment right now, to where you're going to live, right? Because as we look around, there's no telling what can happen. I live in a city. I live in Los Angeles, and it's the hotbed right now for a lot of strife, a lot of, protests and things like that. And, it's a sad thing to see. But, if you look at the whole picture and get out of your emotions for a second, like I said, you see that this was coming. Okay, this was coming. And this is not to blame anybody or anything like that, or say they should have did this and should have did that. But, you guys make your own decisions on that. This is not going to be an intense political live right here. Somebody calling right now. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Yes, this is not going to be an intense political live right here. By the way, guys, go ahead and come on in the chat. Let me know you're here right now. Okay, or just make a comment or whatever you want to do. But you have to understand that wherever you are, like I said, you made the choice to be there. Probably unconsciously, the decisions that you've made determine where. Hold on a second here. The decisions that you've made in the past determine where you are right now. Okay, and unfortunately, a lot of us make unconscious decisions that put us in a very precarious predicament, right? Then we look back and we cry about it. And this is not to lay blame. We've all done it, but this is just more of a warning, so to speak, an admonishment, not just to you, but to myself, anybody listening, that we really have to choose our steps wisely, right? We really have to choose our steps wisely. We can't get too comfortable and too arrogant about where we are, because that can go up in smoke. Just the wrong decision can just make it all go up in smoke. Okay. And that may not happen right away. It could happen years down the line. It could happen 6 months down the line. So, you really have to take inventory and examine where you are right now. And is it where you want to be? Are you making the right decisions? Is this good for you? And it comes a time where you really have to make those decisions forefront and put it in the forefront of your mind, and with everything you do, from stepping out the house, or taking that job, or getting ready to go hang out with that friend. Is this something that you really want to do? Is it going to benefit your future? And I talk a lot on this channel about the trades, and that's really a good path to go for young people to go down. And let me make sure that's, and it's setting yourself up for a bright future, right? If you take the right steps and strategize, versus not really thinking about going to school or college, and you jump into a college, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you want to do, and you end up spending all this money, coming out not getting a job, not being able to get a job. So it's all about strategy. It's all about setting yourself up for success, and minimizing the chances of defeat or failure as much as you can. Even though there's not such a thing as failure, I don't think. There's only lessons, but minimizing those hard lessons and maximizing the chances of success as much as you can, guys. That's what I mean when I say it's a setup. Okay, you have a lot to do with it, right? So, once again, there's going to be a hard line that has to be drawn in the sand. All right, in your life, at some point, you can't keep going in the direction you're going in, right? Without thinking, without planning. And no, you're going to make mistakes and all that, but you have to adopt the mindset of planning. You have to adopt the planning mindset and laying things out, not making rush decisions, and going from there. All right. And one more thing, guys. This is going to be the last thing, because it's going to be a pretty short live. One more thing. Decide what your principles are. I think a lot of us, we don't decide what our principles are. And because we don't set the GPS on our principles, we end up in the wrong place unintentionally, right? Because we didn't know that we had to set it early on. That's the first thing we should set. And I think that's very important to teach your kids, teach your young people, to set that GPS, decide what their principles are going to be, then step out of there. But if you don't have that, guess what? The storms of life are going to push you wherever it wants to, and you're going to end up in places you never thought you'd be. And that's it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people watching here. That's why I can speak from experience, right? You have to set the coordinates of your life first. Right? Set the coordinates. No, you can't predict the weather. You cannot do this out of your control. But what you can do, okay, what you can do is set the coordinates, okay, and then you go from there. Then you adapt to whatever storms come along, right? And you have to understand. You have to know what the storms are. You have to know what the storms are, okay, and we're experiencing a lot of storms in this country right now, as people are in other countries or all over the world, so to speak. So once you understand that, then you can prepare for the worst case scenario. And that's really the best way to prepare. And, you go from there, guys. So those are just a few words to help guide you along this rough patch that we're experiencing. Well, I don't know if it's just a rough patch. I mean, some people have been experiencing rough patches all their life, right? It's like, man, when was it not a rough patch? You know what I mean? But it's just a few words to guide you along and maybe pass along to your loved ones, to your kids, and so forth, and whoever you feel needs to hear it. Set those principles, guys. Set those principles. Stick by them as best you can, because the minute you compromise them, it's just going downhill from there. That's just the way it works. It's like physics, but it's more of a, there's physics that you study in school that's, reflects, the laws of gravity and the laws of the physical world. But there's also laws of the mental and spiritual world as well, and they have their own physics. And if you violate them, guess what? There's repercussions as well. So you have to understand those laws, right? And you can go on and on about that. So anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. It's pretty short live. Didn't plan to stay on. I got some things I have to do later, and I got to prepare for that. But I didn't want to miss this live tonight. All right, guys. So I appreciate it. You guys take care and be safe out there. Okay.